Hello friends, I am Sucharita, Senior Editor at Niyogi Books. Today we are, talking about Haroon Khalid Akhtar's novel Melody of a Tear and the importance of mental health and the tragedy of suicide. Haroon Khalid Akhtar's Melody of a Tear is a novel about the need for compassion. The protagonist, Zahra, a young girl, is raised as a boy by her father, who then later decides to marry her off to a man. This, among other reasons, leads to an identity crisis. She develops suicidal tendencies and is unable to shed tears. Mental disorders are among the leading causes of non-fatal disease burden in India. However, a systematic understanding of their prevalence, disease burden, and risk factors is not readily available for each state of India. This crucially important topic of mental health has yet again come to the forefront of popular discourse after Sushant Singh Rajput, a young, talented, and popular Bollywood actor, took the extreme step of killing himself. It immediately led to an unprecedented flood of reactions across an entire spectrum of social media. The reactions are of many kinds, ranging from sympathetic to hostile agenda-driven attitudes. In these COVID-19 times, when we find ourselves more isolated than usual, this suicide is a tragic reminder that by several NGOs organizing mental health awareness drives. We at Niyogi Books also understand the seriousness of the matter and therefore published Melody of a Tear in 2019 to address the issue. Mental health is at the very core of Mr. Akhtar's novel, which raises questions about why someone becomes suicidal, how it affects the immediate family, and how, if left untreated and unattended, suicide seems the only solution of a troubled mind. I am joined by Mr. Haroon Khalid Akhtar, a successful banker with over 20 years of experience in risk and compliance. Mr. Akhtar is settled in Karachi. He has written extensively for Pakistan's top daily, The Dawn. This is his debut novel. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us today.
My absolute pleasure, Sucharita.
How are you, sir?
I'm so glad to be here. I'm fine. These are tough times, and everybody's trying to cope with this situation. So we are learning new things, learning a new way of life.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting.
True, very true. So my first question to you would be, what made you create a protagonist like Zahra in your debut novel?
Well, actually, Zahra was created because of the enigma that Zad holds, which is extraordinary compassion. So I wanted, Zad was the character that I started the book with, and I wanted to see Zad from a perspective of a female character, and B, a female character who was also a pretty moribund in his life, who was actually not even half as alive. So I wanted to value what Zad had and to be seen through the eyes of somebody like Zahra, who had really little interest in life. She was almost had lost interest in life. And that was the contrast I wanted to present. And that's what gave birth to the character Zahra, so that she can see the enigma that, the charisma and enigma and the mystery that Zad holds in his heart and in his past.
Okay. Zad is a very interesting character. When I was reading the novel for the first time, it took me some time to understand him, but once you see the beauty, it's pure, the pure beauty inside his heart. You just have to love him. He's a beautiful soul.
I'm so grateful you liked his character. He's a complex character, and there's a background, there's a history to it. He wanted to be perhaps in his very early childhood wanted to be someone else. He couldn't become that person. So he becomes a shadow of that
Yes.
person that he wanted to become. And that shadow takes and assumes a character of its own. So yeah. I'm glad that you liked that complexity about him and the characters, the layers that he has.
So, in your novel, Varis's genuine empathy and friendship without judgment provides the healing touch that Zahra always sought. As opposed to this, there is a perception that depression is a form of mental weakness and suicide is a coward's way out. Would you like to comment on that?
Sucharita, I can't disagree with what you said. This is actually not facing the truth, not facing your circumstances. Unfortunately, a lot of people actually choose this path or end up killing themselves. But this is a cowardly path, no doubt about it. In this character of Zahra, actually, so she's actually in a journey. She is traveling towards that inverted commas fabulous exit that she sees in shape of suicide, because there are nothing going for her in life. There's a parental aspect as well to it. But this book, let me clarify, is not a justification of any sort
No.
of why suicide should be committed. In fact, if you read the whole story, it's quite to the contrary. But to explain her state of mind, she has very little going for her. She has a problem. She has a gender confusion about herself. So she is looking for ways to die. And she's just not quite able to pinpoint the time and the occasion and the circumstances when she'll be totally compelled to do it. So she's slightly a different case than a normal suicide, impulsive case, like a lot of women choose in shape of domestic violence, nor she's a case where there's a shock in her life, or there is so much misery that she just want to quit. So she's just planning it out all her life. She is not into life, and she is planning it out. And it's a kind of quite a unique way of how you actually seeking a suicide. And then something else happens which makes things very, very clear in her head. And then she picks her path.
And Varis helps her. Varis really takes her out of that shell that she had gone into. Varis helps Zed too, for that matter.
Yeah, Varis is a classic friend, actually.
He's the best friend anyone could have. He's a fabulous character.
Absolutely. He actually is full of sacrifice. He actually sacrifices his manuscript for the cause of his friends. And then even the idea of this book is, in my own way, I've tried that he's even helping them out through his script post his death. Yes. So he's very, very committed towards his friends. And he tries to make something out of their relationship. And for the reader, they'll find out whether he's successful or not.
Yes,
but a very
magnum opus.
And he has his own tragedies as well, but he has been able to overcome those tragedies. So he's different from Zahra. He knows how to walk free from the tragedies, how to step into a new day. And he sees Zahra struggling to do the similar kind of things, so he tries to help her out.
So at this point, I would request you to read out an excerpt from your novel so that the readers can also hear. This is the novel, by the way.
Yeah.
Would you?
Yeah, sure, my pleasure. I think prior to the interview, you mentioned that those passages will be more relevant, which are touching upon the topic that we are discussing.
That is right.
So I've just picked out a couple of paragraphs. The first one relates to the thoughts that Zahra is carrying in her head about all this business of suicide and what should be her motivation in that respect, because as I said, she's not quite clear-headed about this aspect. So she knows that is the way forward, but she's not totally compelled enough. So when she's planning out that big step, she actually tries to fall back on some of the family history. So this is the passage on regarding that. This is Zahra. The history of my family disappointingly had no disclosed case of suicide. Ancestors was generally in the habit of dying greedily of old age, most deaths being peaceful and timely, in unenviable rotten bodies. Thus, no ancestral endorsement could be acquired in the matter. All that time, my discomfort with life kept manifesting itself in different forms, from frequent flare-ups to recurrent bouts of depression. In the mirror, I began to see someone I could not stand. Then, after my mid-20s, I hit a limbo which lasted a few years, a period of realization that I was not committed enough to the cause of undoing myself, my case for dying perhaps still not watertight. At that time, I didn't realize what I lacked was a sip of life itself. In order to die, I needed to live first. Only the dispossession of a true life could turn death into an overpowering spiritual desire.
That's the point of her realization.
Yeah, the point is that she hadn't quite lived a life as yet. So she was making all the plans of killing herself, but there was not enough motivation because she has not been dispossessed of anything precious.
Absolutely.
And then she finds her love, and then that dispossession occurs, and then she gets convinced that now there's a reason enough for me to kill herself. Can I read one more paragraph if you have time?
Please do.
Okay. So this is about Zahra's mother, who is a devoted mother and committed housewife.
Yes.
And she's a simpleton as well. So she thinks of reasons. In her mind, she's thinking of reasons why actually Zahra did what she did. Zahra has undergone an attempted suicide. So this is after that attempt. So let me read this. So this is about Zahra's mother. In her simple heart, she must have been convinced that the new brand of spices in the food caused me to become suicidal. Me means Zahra. And if not the spices, then definitely her negligence to open my room's windows. Always quick to assume blame for everything that went awry in the family, she had managed to look like an octogenarian. But mercifully, dementia was setting in, the divine gift that sucked away worry, replacing it with a benign deja vu. Sadly, it requires loads of living. It had to be earned. Dementia. So this is her mother's perspective as Zahra sees it.
Yes. Thank you so much, sir, for reading out those two excerpts. There's another question coming up. Sometimes the pressure of living up to what is expected of us gets to us, like it happens to Zahra and Zaid in your novel. Do you think conforming to societal expectations can bog us down, making us feel lonely and misunderstood? Is this how a decline in mental health can start?
Actually, yes, partly it's true. I think the sickness starts in the head first, and then there are contributory factors which can make it very worse. In case of Zahra, for example, this character, she is very badly influenced and damaged by her father, who wanted another son and couldn't get, and he actually experiments with his daughter and ruins her personality. So there are a lot of influences. There are circumstances as well as people who actually make it so tough for you and actually can trigger those suicidal tendencies. But a lot of those people are actually doing it not purposely.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Yes.
Yeah, it's their own life. Human beings are very complex creatures. So sometimes you do things in your own interest. Sometimes you do things and say things that you feel are in the interest of the other person that you're trying to help out, and they actually prove very counterproductive. So in parents' case, that can happen many a times. But what happens inside your head, and if it remains so for a long period of time, is actually where you can turn it around. So people can help, therapies can help, pills can help, but I'm a believer they probably would, in the long run, do more damage. You need sincere people around you who can actually see what your problem is, and they can help you grow out of it. What you can do yourself is you should try to nip that problem in the bud, and don't actually go on prolonged doses of medicines and seeing doctors. Try to fix your head, and the best way to fix your head is find a purpose in your life, find an interest, find something that is unique in you. If you can paint, maybe you should start painting. If you're depressed, try to be productive about yourself, and that, I think, can make a lot of difference. And people
Those are
who
very
actually forgot to do
inspiring
this.
words. Yes, I couldn't agree more with you, sir. I think that's exactly what someone can do when they feel that, they are feeling lonely, depressed, nobody can understand them. This is something that we all go through, and then we come out of it. But then for some people, it's difficult to come out of it, and I think that starts the decline. And at that point, they need all the support that they can, as well as believe in themselves.
Absolutely. And the support that you mentioned rightly so is people have to understand that they have to uh, rekindle that self-belief in them. And that is the only thing that person requires. That you are the person of importance. You are the person who can, in this 8 billion uh, people's world, can make a difference. And you have your own unique identity. So these are the things. And the closer that those people are, like parents and siblings and wives, the more effect it will have on that person. So relationships do matter as well.
Do matter, yes. And
Yeah. So
your last comment, this brings me to my last question. How do you maintain your mental wellness, especially in these trying times?
well, the times are trying, no doubt. I'm seeing these things quite differently, actually, from probably a normal perspective. You might find it odd. The thing is that there are a lot of downsides of what we're going through. And the world has been totally shut down. We can't move out. The basic freedom of people has been affected. But there are also things that we can benefit from. For example, closeness to your family that we have been neglected for so long. We sometimes look at our children, we don't know which classes they're studying in. Sometimes we forget, especially fathers. This is the time to reconnect with all those relationships. Listen to your wife's chit chat, the things that you hear from one ear and just ignore and let it out from the other. Give her that importance, that she is important too, and give her that feeling that I'm there to listen to whatever you have to say. It may not be rich enough, but I care what you say, and that is important. So those relationship building times are here within the confines of our room and within the confines of our house. Number two, there's a lot of things that you can do to reconnect to yourself as well. Sometimes in the journey of life, we forget who we are, where we're going. It's a very good time to really meditate and think about the direction that you're heading. You can do a lot of reading, you can self-analyze, and you can catch up with a lot of books that you wanted to read, but you couldn't because of time. And frankly, from my perspective, all the people, all the bosses have shrunk into the Zoom screens now. So I don't have to sit in those long meetings. A lot of people are interested in making speeches in the meetings. So I'm getting spared of all those long speeches that are given in the name of discussions in the meeting. And perhaps in a way, we're becoming more productive. So there are a lot of pluses. Let's not waste this time. This may
Hmm.
not last.
Hmm.
This will be over, but let's fruitfully change ourselves and come out different when the world opens up. We'll get our freedom back, but we will not get this closeness again that we are having right now. So let's cherish this, find the opportunity that we have rather than sulking about it.
Very rightly said, sir. I have also discovered certain things that I didn't think that were around. I think I have a better understanding of myself and of my family in the last 3 months because of the forced proximity. And
Yeah.
in the beginning, it used to be a little uncomfortable, but now I think I just have a better understanding of myself. So on that note, I would like to end the session. Thank you so much for joining us today. It was an absolute pleasure to have you here. And dear friends, this book is, this book,
Sucharita, I must say thank you very much to you and Niyogi Books. Very grateful for, first of all, publishing me, publishing my debut novel, taking that punt on me. And then thank you very much for this wonderful discussion. I'm grateful all the way.
pleasure's mine, sir. This book is available on Amazon. Please order your copies online. And finally, I would request everyone to start talking about mental health. I think that is the first step in the right direction. Thank you.